Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this fine Monday morning as the sun slits the sky. Oh yeah, after yesterday, Celtic find themselves third in the league this morning with a game in hand. So we do have that game in hand to keep us going. But when you look at the scoreline, 3-2 to Celtic. Kilmarnock getting 2-0 up in the first half. Celtic toiling in the first half. What does Celtic need to do to improve in the first half? Because far too many, and let's face the facts here, it was against two teams in the bottom half of the table over the past couple of games. We have struggled. And yes, you could say that the teams at the bottom of the table at this end of the year are playing for survival, so they're always going to be playing better. But if you're going for the championship, shouldn't you be playing even better? Celtic over the years have been coasting it at this time of the year, and we find ourselves in an uncomfortable position as Celtic fans. When you look at the players that started yesterday and that ultimately didn't finish the game, Kasper Schmeichel, that when he's diving to his left, tries to save the ball with his right hand. Kasper has a shoulder injury issue on his left hand side. Kasper has to take himself out of the team. If Martin O'Neill won't do it, and the coaching staff and Stevie Woods, I'm really surprised that Stevie Woods is letting Kasper Schmeichel away with it, because that's now at least 2 or 3 goals in the last couple of months that Kasper Schmeichel has not went with his left. He's tried to save the ball with his right. He can't get his arm up. That's no good as a keeper. Is it time to drop Kasper Schmeichel? Is it time to drop Rio Hatate? Is it time to drop Daisen Maeda? Is it time to drop Yang? Because even Yang didn't perform yesterday. When you look at the players that started, Kasper Schmeichel, Liam Scales, Austin Trusty. Austin Trusty and Liam Scales are getting an absolute free until the end of the season. There is nobody in the squad putting those two players under pressure. There is no one at all. They've got a free run between now and the end of the season. The inability of Celtic Football Club to bring in at least one high-level defender, when we all knew that it was an area that you need to strengthen in. Yes, Stephen Welsh left because he wanted to play football. He didn't want to be third or fourth choice. We brought in a young guy, Benjamin Arthur, who's seemingly been told that he's not going to get any game time because he's not good enough for Celtic Football Club to be playing first team football. He's been brought in just to make up the numbers, just in case we get an injury to Liam Scales and Austin Trusty. Heaven forbid, with the remaining, 12, 13 games, 13 games I think Celtic have between now and the end of the season, that any of those two players get injured, because we are up shit creek without a paddle. It was a case of who was worse than worse, Liam Scales or Austin Trusty in that game yesterday. The only good thing about the second half is that you hardly heard Scales getting mentioned. And why? Because Rio Hatate wasn't on the pitch. Yes, Rio Hatate has become Mr. Passback, Mr. I'm going to go missing in games, and he looks as if he's got just going through the motions as a football player, doesn't he? Julian Araujo had an absolute nightmare of a first half. Even Martin O'Neill said so, when he was getting interviewed. Ask him about his first half performance. He obviously got the rocket right up his jacksie, the little Mexican, and he was on fire in the second half. Kieran Tierney. Now, Kieran Tierney is another player that it seems to be. We know that Kieran Tierney has the ability. We know that Kieran Tierney needs a winger on the side that he plays on the left hand side that will allow him to overlaps, will pass him the ball. Kieran Tierney's heads went down this season when he does an overlap and the player doesn't pass to him. The player decides to go on his own route. There seems to be an awful lot of players that, although they say they're playing the squad game and their togetherness as a team and they're happy, that they're not really allowing each other to shine, if that's such a thing. They're not, they're not playing the simple ball. They're not making it easy. Everyone's trying to showboat. And where everyone's trying to hide in the middle of the park. When you look at the first half, the midfield was absolutely woeful. 4 against 3 is always going to be hard, but when you've got good players in that midfield, it should be easy. Callum McGregor. A lot of people give Callum McGregor stick. Callum McGregor isn't getting helped in the midfield because Rio Hatate goes missing. So you're almost playing with two players in the midfield, which I think is hindering Callum McGregor. When Oxlade-Chamberlain comes into the park, frees up Callum McGregor and he plays with a bit more confidence. And you not notice when Oxlade-Chamberlain's on the park, the pointy stops. Callum's not having to tell Oxlade-Chamberlain where he should be because Oxlade-Chamberlain is a fantastic player of quality and that knows exactly how to play football at a high level. Rio Hatate, should he ever play for Celtic again? It all points to a massive, massive summer for Celtic. With the games that we do have remaining in the league, in the Europa, and the Scottish Cup, it's making for an exciting end to the season. We have Stuttgart on a Thursday evening. That won't be an easy game because they, like Celtic, are scoring goals late on. They scored 2 goals late on at the weekend. Makes for a good game. But anyway, the players that came off, Kieran Tierney. Are we getting enough out of Kieran Tierney? I still put the Kieran Tierney situation down to the fact that he's playing with wingers that don't understand the way that he plays and ultimately don't play the way that Celtic used to play when Kieran Tierney was here his first time. Tell me your thoughts on that. Rio Hatate, taken off. Now, that was a big one for me. I couldn't understand why Martin O'Neill started Rio Hatate. I think everyone, when we seen the team sheet yesterday, there was a bit of shock. The Rio Hatate was the one person that, I mean, you can understand why. And you're thinking, right, okay, let's put it from Martin O'Neill's perspective. You do have Arne Engels is now out until the end of March. So Rio Hatate is going to have to put his big boy pants on and put in performances. And especially when it comes into the European games, because he's going to be involved now more until the end of March. So Martin O'Neill, give him that bit of trust. He could have brought in anyone else in the midfield. He could have brought in young Luke McCowan. He didn't. He started Rio. We know that Rio has the ability, but Rio is just not in the mood at Celtic. And for the cheerleaders that say Rio Hatate is a fantastic player, why is he the same person that seems to get hooked all the time? And why is he the man that just isn't performing for Celtic this season? Yes, Rio Hatate was looking to get away in the summer, as was Dyson Maeda. Both those players are only running at around about 70-80% of the way that we know they can play. And that's the disappointing thing from these players. What happened to this Japanese honour of always trying and everything? I just think it's disappointing the way that these two players are going to finish their career. And if it ends up that Celtic finishing winning nothing this season, it will be on players like Rio Hatate. It will be on players like Dyson Maeda. You can't keep on blaming James Forrest, who's 180-year-old still pulling on a Celtic strip. The fact that we're having to rely on James Forrest, the fact that we're having to rely on Callum McGregor, it's just unbelievable. And you've got to say that Benji Negrin, the second half, funny how he played a bit better when he knew that the midfield was getting controlled a little bit better by Celtic. Junior Adamu, another player that was brought in by Martin O'Neill. Do you think that he's going to be up to it? He's a big physical guy, physical player, but there's something just not clicking. I know the new players, when they come into the new squad, they need a couple of games to settle down. Some managers say that you bring them in this window and you don't even want to play them much in the first 6 months. Ange Postecoglou said it takes 6 months for a player to get settled down in a new country. They're coming in, they're living in hotels. They're getting picked up and taken to the training ground. They're going back into town. They're staying in hotels in town, and it's not ideal for them. They've not got the home comforts but Julian Araujo seems to be coping quite well, and he gets Celtic. So that's that theory straight out the window, isn't it? Because Julian Araujo, he looks as if he wants to stay here for life, and I, for one, would have him. It'd be something else with him and a few of the players. We're going to talk about the players that are out injured, and can Celtic ultimately cope without them between now and the end of the season? Thomas, Big Tam the Czech, his footwork, had to hit that with the outside of his foot, flick it with the outside of his foot with the defender to the right hand side of him as well, and then turn the defender. That was good. That was good. A lot of people give him stick saying that he's a big lump. He's maybe not Celtics, but that was class. And then to get to the byline and cut the ball back. And yes, it did take a little bit of a nick of a deflection off the defender, but Julian Araujo was still at the back post. Even if the defender didn't get it, it was going to Julian Araujo. Even with the slight deflection, it maybe got to Julian Araujo a bit quicker. There was only going to ever be one outcome with Julian Araujo at the back post, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And if you haven't watched my reaction to the goal, go back and watch it. My mother even recorded it on her phone and sent it to me last night. But anyway, enough about that. Can Celtic ultimately cope without the players that are out injured? And you've got to say, it is quite an injury list when you look at Celtic. Of big name players, Cameron Carter-Vickers. You know, you would say that he would be in, and Trusty would be in, and Scales maybe wouldn't even be near the first team. You never know. When you look at Alistair Johnston, would we have even brought in Araujo if Alistair Johnston had not been fit? It's very doubtful. Then again, you never know. We may have, because you need two good players for every position. Little Callum Osmond, he's a fantastic little prospect. He was looking as if he was about to come onto a game. He looks like a real goal-scoring threat. Now, we shouldn't be putting too much pressure on Callum Osmond, because Callum Osmond, as a player, he's come in and he's filling the gap from where Daniel Cummins was going to be. Let's not forget about it. He's what Daniel Cummins would have been to Celtic this season. Now, Daniel Cummins left Celtic and went on, so we had to bring in someone that was of a similar age that had come through an academy. He came to Celtic because he was told that he was going to get into the first team. He had that pathway. He wasn't going into the B team. You know, the whole B team conversation is one that needs to be addressed by Celtic, and the way forward for that, the next manager's got a complete headache on his hands. And then you've got Kelechi Iheanacho. He's been paid a shitload of money to be at Celtic injured all season. Shitload of money. Will we see Kelechi Iheanacho again? I believe that he got injured in training. The guy seems to be made of chocolate, and the fact that this guy's got an option of another year. Will Celtic take up that other year for Kelechi Iheanacho? I bloody hope not, because Cameron Carter-Vickers has not seen out a full season. Kelechi Iheanacho has never. I don't think he's played more than 10 games for Celtic, has he? I'm not too sure. But he's been out injured more than he's played. That's for certainty. And then you've got Arnie Engels, who is out now until the end of March. The end of March, our season could be done and dusted, so it doesn't matter if Arnie Engels comes back. So unfortunate, the timing of his injury. Very unfortunate. We do have Oxlade-Chamberlain that can step into that, but we don't have him for this round in Europe. And that was maybe a mistake by Martin O'Neill. That's the injured players. The big injured players, you could say. Cameron Carter-Vickers, Jota. We know that Jota's out for this season. He won't be back until pre-season. Jota, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Alistair Johnston, Kelechi Iheanacho, and now Arnie Engels. It is unbelievable to think that that's the majority of first team squad. Callum Osmond should have been third choice striker at Celtic. That he knew he was coming to be third choice striker, getting used late on in games, given a little chance here and there. But it's the Rio Hitatis, it's the Dyson Maidas, it's the Yangs of Celtic that are letting us down, and letting us down badly. Can Celtic cope? It won't be easy, and we're not using this as an excuse. It is not an excuse, but when you've got the majority of the core of a football team out injured as long as they have been, it is unbelievable to think that Celtic Football Club are still in the title chase. And yes, some people say it is in our own hands. When you look at the league table, yes, it's in our own hands. If we win every game between now and the end of the season, it looks like there could only be one winner for the league, and it could be Celtic. But The table doesn't lie this morning. We find ourselves third in the table. Yes, with a game in hand above the two above us. And if we win that game in hand, we've got a little matter of a Rangers game before we get to the game in hand. But there's one thing for sure. If we do win at Ibrox, if we do, as I expect, win away to Aberdeen, because Aberdeen are just woeful this season, even getting a draw, would getting a draw at Ibrox be a bad thing in the cup? Would you take a draw in a draw in the league and then win the cup game? Would that be an ideal scenario for Celtic? I don't think Celtic could ever play for a draw. It's not on our style. But there's one thing for sure, that Celtic Football Club are up against it in this running. And the league doesn't lie. But the league is also, if we win that game, if that game in hand was tomorrow and you win it, we still don't go top of the league unless we win by 5 goals. Goals are coming into play. Squeaky bum time. But then again, if we get a draw at Ibrox and then we win at Celtic Park, we win against Heart at Celtic Park, I think that we'll win. The only game I'm worried about between now and the split really would be the Motherwell game and the Rangers game. That is the two games that could really kibosh our season. But I think that Celtic still can do it. Do you think that Celtic can win the league? If we do go on to win the league, it will be one of the biggest achievements that any manager, having lost 6 games. Now it's good because Hearts have now lost 4 games. The ones that look like title threat to Celtic, and let's face it, it is the team in second. But having drawn 10 games already this season, I'll remind them of a manager who didn't lose a single game, if I remember right, in his managerial career at Celtic. It was all draws that outdid us. And maybe we did lose a couple of games. But Tommy Burns came close. Let's hope it's the same for Danny Rowe this season. And let's hope that Martin O'Neill can go on and become champions in May. And let's face it, it would be 5 in a row for Celtic. 5 in a row for Celtic. Can Celtic do it? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Can Celtic still deliver with so many players out injured? Tell me that one in the comments. And on that note, I'll see you back tonight at 8 p.m. Celtic part-time, where we will do it live and we can talk about the players that are letting Celtic down right now. And how far, and can we even get a result, considering we are the late show just now under Martin O'Neill in the league? Can these Celtic players up the game against a team from Germany? I think that we can win at home, but ultimately it could come down to the away game in Stuttgart, and that could be the one that could outdo Celtic. But if we can win by at least, I don't know, 2 goals at Celtic Park, get a draw in Germany, wouldn't be a bad thing, would it? On that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.